Welcome to the Sports Motivation Podcast. It's your host, Niyi Sobo. Listen, one of the things that happens a lot, especially when well-intentioned athletes begin working with me and I start putting that pressure on them in terms of defining their process, right? Is a lot of times they will start to feel like, am I doing too much? They will start to be overwhelmed with the amount of details and the amount of things that need to be done in order to quote unquote dominate their sport. And it feels like, shit, am I doing too much? And this is coming from obsessed athletes who already like want to do more, want to be the best, want to push themselves in order to get more out of themselves. And they feel like they're doing too much, man. Like, are you pushing your body too hard? Are you setting yourself up for burnout? And then you got people around you, maybe even coaches, sometimes even coaches or trainers telling you to pull back, chill. For example, let's say you're a basketball player and after practice, you want to get up more shots, right? You got your own standards for how many shots you want to get up. You're a football player. You want to lift after practice. You want to run more routes after practice. And sometimes you'll even have coaches telling you, hey, man, chill. That's enough. Sometimes it'll be your mom or your dad or your partner or a roommate telling you, hey, man, you're doing too much. Like, you need to chill. Like, you're going to burn out. You're going to hurt yourself, right? So I want to address this, man. And it's not, I don't want to oversimplify this because I think that naturally, let's just be honest, there are times when we can do things, do too much. And because of our doing too much, we could set ourselves up for, whether that's being injured or whatever, right? So obviously there's that element. But realistically, man, I want to address that. And I want to address it, number one, from my own experience, right? Because I, like you, have always been an athlete who wants to get the most out of myself. But I, like you, when I'm honest with myself, have never really been accused of working too hard. So I'm the same way as you. You know what I mean? Like since young, since I fell in love with football, man, I would stay after practice and I would make up drills for myself. And my coaches were like science teachers and shit like that. They didn't really know what to do. So I would just create my own shit. And I would work really hard. I would go high school. I'd be running sprints, doing all sorts of shit on my own in order to get better, right? But I want to tell you about a few times, man, where I found myself in just the most impeccable shape I have ever been in. And I want to tell you the story behind it because you could have very easily assumed that I was, quote unquote, doing too much. So there was a summer going into my sophomore year at Oregon State. And I came in, I was weighing around 240 pounds, right? So I'm built like a fullback, like a bigger running back. I'm 6'1", 240. I've always been around 230, 240, even dating all the way back to high school. So, but they didn't really have a fullback position for me. So what they said is, listen, if you want to play here, you're going to have to learn how to play tailback. And we want our tailback smaller than that. So we need to get you down to like 220. So sure enough, I'm like, shit, I'm going to get down to 220. So this summer, first of all, I stay there I stay in Corvallis the whole summer. I don't even go back to Portland. And I drove back a couple times, 4th of July weekend, whatever. But I lived there. I was staying on the floor of a couple friends' house, man, on one of them little eggshell, those little eggshell foam mattress things, right? A pillow with no pillowcase, you know what I'm saying? Eating literally chicken breast and iceberg lettuce. The little iceberg lettuce salad mixes with like a few little shreds of cabbage up in there and ranch. That's about it. But let me tell you what I was doing. Number one, I was lifting hard according to our summer training program, right? Really, really intense. We had a great trainer. His name was TJ, man, at Oregon State that summer, man. He was legit. Lifting. Of course, we did tons of running, right? Meaning like conditioning, and it was all organized and based on what the goals that we had to reach, right? So I was doing the basics in terms of that. That right there, anywhere from 4 to 5 hours, right? Then on top of that, I was doing running routes, doing that with quarterbacks, etc. And then I was riding about 6 to 7 miles per day on my bike because I was working at a Pepsi factory baling cans. So literally like for like 6 hours a day, I would, take all these cans, put them in this machine. It would bale them up into this brick, wrap it up. It was bees everywhere because all the syrup and all of that shit. but I was riding my bike 67 miles. On top of that, at nighttime, I would have my what do you call it? CD player, and I would have the Joel Santana CD, and at that time the Carter One CD, and I'd be running up and down the stadium stairs at nighttime. Now I didn't have anyone telling me I was doing too much, because in my mind I was thinking I must be, and number one, I must show up at the weight they tell me. So that's first. So I had to cut weight, and on top of that, I have to be in the best shape of my life. Because when I first got to Oregon State, I was exposed from a weightlifting standpoint. I couldn't lift a lot. I didn't lift a lot in high school. So guys like cornerbacks were lifting more weight than me. You see what I'm saying? So I was trying to get my strength up, and I was trying to get my weight down. And of course, I was trying to be in the best physical shape as possible, understanding that I'm coming from behind, man. Like, I'm a walk-on. I'm trying to beat these guys who got scholarships out of spots. I was in the best shape of my life. And you want to know what's funny? When I look back on that summer, there was still so much more I could have been doing in terms of recovery, so much I didn't know, right? So much more I could have been doing, not less. Nothing that I did, I would say, oh, man, that hurt me so bad. That set me up for injury or anything like that. And trust, when I was doing that, there would be Thursdays, man, when I was riding my bike back home from working, a 6-hour shift at the Pepsi factory. And I remember riding by Taco Bell, you know what I'm saying? Riding by, McDonald's, Ruby Tuesdays, whatever, man, stomach just growling like, man, I would love to have me like a few bean burritos right now from Taco Bell. You know what I'm saying? I grew up on bean burritos from Taco Bell, dog. Like, we were vegetarians growing up. So that was like one of the main places we would go. Stomach growling, feeling like, man, am I eating enough, dog? Like, those questions that come up whenever you have a diet. You always start, oh man, am I getting enough calories? Yeah, you all right. You all right. You just hungry. You're in a deficit. That's what's required in order to reach your goals. But again, we have that voice saying, are we doing too much? Looking back on that summer, I wasn't doing enough. There were many more things I could have been doing. I was still distracted by girls during that summer. Still distracted more than I would like. And I was locked in. Does that make sense? So I want to paint for you another picture of a time. This was a summer. It was a summer leading into, as a matter of fact, no, it was my last summer training to get back into the league. I never got back into the league. But I got into one of the best shapes of my life that summer as well. And that consisted of heavy weight training. I had 2 trainers helping me, one on the track, just focused on speed, another focused on quickness and agility. So I had 2 trainers helping me there, going multiple times a week with them. I was running hills still with my guy, Tim, and on my own, running hills, crazy hills up in downtown Portland. And crazy heat, man. There was this one day where we did this track workout on the track, and then he finished it up with hill sprints after that. And I'm telling you, I was exhausted to the point where I went out that night with my friend. I remember, because I was out and about, and I was just drinking so many glasses of water. I was at the club like, hey, let me get another glass of water. I had like probably 5 glasses of water back to back. I was so dehydrated. And then I remember going to the bathroom, and literally I could pee only like a few drops. I was so dehydrated. So look, think about what that meant. Was I taking care of myself from a nutrition standpoint? Was I dialed in as much as I needed to be? Was I putting as much emphasis onto those details of my nutrition? If I was, that was going to take more time on top of the other shit that I was doing. So was I doing too much? Fuck no, I wasn't doing too much. Now, even then, I was in great shape. Looking back, I could have done way more in order to get in even better shape, to prepare myself even better. So I bring up these 2 examples because, again, I'm not trying to act like I'm some Superman or anything like that. You and I are the same. When we want to do well, we push ourselves, right? Chances are, if you're an athlete who's lazy, doesn't even like training and all of that, then you won't even be listening to me. But you are that type of athlete. So you've always pushed yourself. But let's be real. Are you actually doing too much when you break it down? No, you're not. So here's the keys, man. This is what I want to break down for you all. The keys are, number one, you got to understand what it takes in order to dominate your sport. We got to be able to look at this. Am I doing too much? That's an emotion. That's when you start convincing yourself not to train that day. That's when you start convincing yourself you should eat that thing, even though you had already determined that you shouldn't eat that thing. Emotionally, that's what happens. When I'm on my fasting protocol, man, I'm on day 2 or 3 of my fast. I got all sorts of little demons telling me all sorts of things. Yeah, man, you really should eat that, man. Your energy's kind of low right now. You probably should, you could put a little bit of that in there. It wouldn't hurt if you had a bite of this. That's the devil, man. That's not real. You're not doing too much. So the key is, number one, understanding what it takes to dominate from a practical standpoint, not an emotional standpoint. Break the shit down to its elements. So athletes come to me, I'm telling you, what's your high performance targets? Meaning, what are those skills and traits that you must master in order to be at your best? And yeah, that's why at every stage of sport, think back when you were in 5th grade. You can play football in 5th grade, right? Then what happens when you get to middle school? A little bit fewer athletes start playing middle school football. And then middle school to high school. Some guys that you play with in middle school, they're not playing in high school. Why? Because it's harder in high school. Then high school to college, even a smaller percentage. Now you got only a few matriculating to the next step. College to pros. Come on, man. Let's say you at the pros. Now you want to dominate the pros? You talking about the best of the best. Of course, it's going to be a lot of shit. Understand what it takes to dominate. Break it down to its parts. Then your job is to put together the puzzle of your 24 hours times 7 days to match dominating and fulfilling your goals in each of those areas. From nutrition to your conditioning, man, to your recovery, to your skill, to your speed, to your strength, to your flexibility, to, connecting with your teammates, to understanding the playbook, the IQ, all of that shit, man. It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. So you're not doing too much, but it's a lot. You see what I'm saying? But you're not doing too much. You're not. Put together that puzzle and then eliminate everything else. And it's going to feel weird, man. I'm telling you, that's when the emotions come up. And again, that's when other people start talking shit to you. It's going to feel weird when you start letting go of shit, when you start realizing like, yeah, you got to be in bed at 9 p.m. every night. Depending on where you live, I think most places where you live, at least in the States, man, in the summertime, it's still light outside around 9 o'clock. You can't be up watching TV and shit, getting caught up on the latest shows. You can't be on the phone, boo loving and all that shit, texting all day, being on social media and all of this nonsense. When you got shit to do in the morning and you've already identified you got to sleep a certain amount of hours in order to recover. Because you are putting yourself through a lot physically. You are lifting, training, etc. So yeah, it's going to feel extreme. But is it extreme? Is it extreme according to your goals? Is what you're asking yourself to do that crazy based on what you're asking of yourself in order to accomplish? Is it? If you want to be a bum, then yeah, your process should match being a bum. If you want to be the best, your process needs to match the best. And again, all you got to do is do basic level evaluating of the best in whatever category. Basic. Just skim through a Kobe Bryant book. Just skim through a Tom Brady book. Just skim through a Michael. Just listen to other people talk about what Michael Jordan did or LeBron James did or Serena Williams did or fill in the blank, Mia Hamm did, whoever. And you'll get the idea pretty quick. Are they doing too much? Nah. Kobe's talking about 1,000 makes a day. Talking about track workouts that'll make the average person die. Man, Walter Payton, you heard about the time people would work out with Walter Payton. Same thing with Jerry Rice. They'll do Jerry Rice's workouts. Other guys in the league will come run hills with Jerry Rice in the offseason. Jerry Rice, a dude who's widely considered the best wide receiver ever, even though he's certainly not the most talented. Not even that fast. He's like a 4'6" type of dude. But played in the league 20 plus years, multiple championships. People consider this dude the GOAT. Guys would come work out with him in the offseason and literally be like, I can't do it, dog. You're doing too much. They couldn't keep up with this dude. But he played 20 years in the league. Was he doing too much? If he was doing too much, then he would have been out the league like 3 or 4 years. His body would have broke down. But he was doing shit that people would think you're crazy for doing that. But his body actually lasted longer. Same thing with Kobe, 20 plus years in the league. His workouts, guys would be like, you're doing too much. And he played like every game, while these guys today doing all sorts of, what do you call it? What's the word? Load management. And they still be getting hurt more than Kobe did. Kobe got hurt less than these dudes. Isn't that a trip? Are they doing too much? So look, the details in the beginning, especially in the beginning, will feel like a lot. But that's okay, because guess what? Remember, your goal is mastery. You're building the patterns of mastery, developing the skill to master anything. So I want you to look at it like this. The way you approach a sport, like first of all, mastery is not easy. And we got to remind ourselves of that, because our emotions will lie to us and act like this should be easier. Nah, mastery is difficult. It's a process. So by you attacking your sport, building the pattern of mastery towards your sport, you're developing a skill to master anything. So your sport will be over, and then you're going to carry that on to other things. This is your advantage as an athlete. You get to take the things that you've learned from dominating your physical sport and apply it to whatever it is that you do. And here's the other thing. You have nothing else to do. You have nothing better to do than to be doing what you're doing right now and even more. So instead of asking, am I doing too much? You need to be asking, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough according to what it is that I want? What else have you got to do? You right now in your 20s, in your 30s especially, you got a small window as an athlete, a very, very small window. And I swear to you on everything I love, you will not look back and be like, man, I should have spent more time fucking around and watching more television. All of them shows ain't going nowhere. All of them girls ain't going nowhere. All of them boys ain't going nowhere. All of that food ain't going nowhere. It's going to be right where you left it. So yeah, for this period of time, you're going to have to eat a lot of steamed veggies. But all that food, you'll have more than enough of that. And you're going to look back and wish, man, I wish I would have went harder during that period of time where I was an athlete. Because you ain't got shit else to do. You will never look back and wish you spent more time fucking around. You're going to have a lifetime to do that. Your window is very, very small. So today, invest. Be smart, yes, but invest. Invest in yourself, in your process. Invest in your goals, in your dreams, in your process. Most people, man, there's a very small, and I'm not one of those people. I can count on my hand the people I know where it's like, and I'm not even, let me actually think about that. Let me put it like, there's probably one or two people that I can think, and I would have to think really hard. There's nobody that even comes to mind right now, athletes that I play with, where they were the types where it's like, yo, chill. You know what I'm saying? Like you're actually doing too much. Like we got to like sit you down. You're not being smart. Like one or two. Most people, they're not in danger of pushing too much. Most people, myself included, you most likely included, your problem is you're scared of what's actually required to get what you want. You're actually scared. That's why you're saying, am I doing too much? That's an excuse. You're not doing too much. You're just afraid of doing all that's required, of the pain, actually, what you're actually going to have to give up, and the possibility that you still might not get what you want, which you might not. You know what I'm saying? It's part of the game. Look at some of your favorite athletes. They've never won a championship, but they put it all on the line. But when you ask them, hey, do you regret it? They have not one regret. Matter of fact, they look back probably say, man, there's some more shit I could have done, more shit I should have done. So your problem is that you're scared. You're holding back. So my challenge to you is this. Define your shit. Use your mind. Use your mind. Don't listen to your emotions. I want you to use your mind. Think about what it takes in order to dominate your sport. Study the elements of your sport. Create a plan of attack to dominate your sport. And then invest. I want you to go all in. I want you to set up your lifestyle to support you dominating your craft. Everything about your life should reflect that. And let go and practice the art of submitting to that plan. Practice the art of ignoring those emotions and doing what needs to be done. Kobe would talk about that. He would map out his workouts months and months and months in advance. And then when it came time to do that workout where it was, six 800-yard sprints or 800 meters sprints on a track. And he's like, you know what? It looks, yeah, I'm a little sore from but Kobe said, we don't negotiate. We don't negotiate with ourselves. We already said that's what we're going to do. So we're going to do it. Experiment with that. See what that's like. See what happens to your confidence when you start investing at that level, when you start doing all that you said you needed to do, regardless of whatever the fuck that it is that you feel on a day-to-day. Because you're going to feel a whole lot of shit. That's a fact. You're going to feel a whole lot of shit. But you must invest. All right? Now, a lot of you don't know the first thing about what it takes to break the shit down. So that's where you need me. So go to imnotyou.com/KI. We talk about what killer instinct is, man. It's you getting a PhD in mastery. PhD. I'm talking about setting up every aspect of your life in order to support you dominating at the highest level. Tools for how to manage and master your emotions. Tools for how to define your training, set up your pregame routines, postgame routines. Tools for how to manage your life, to how to plan out your days, your weeks, your months, to make sure you're evaluating yourself so as to grow. That's what you get. So go to imnotyou.com/KI, and I'll look forward to working with you. All right. Much love. I'll see you in the jungle. Peace.